通过婚姻得到所有东西。
I am 60 years old, born and raised in Beijing, and I have been running my air conditioning business for many years. My company was registered in 1998, and I have been steady in this industry ever since. Despite having my own business and financial foundation, I have remained unmarried all these years. This is because I have my own unique views on marriage and some personal experiences. Firstly, I own an apartment in Beijing, located in a prime area within the Second Ring Road. It is very convenient for transportation, with all the necessary living facilities nearby. The apartment is about 60 square meters, a standard 2-bedroom unit. Now that I am retired, I receive a few thousand yuan in pension every month, but I am still single and live a very comfortable life. I am still unmarried. Actually, not getting married does not mean my life is incomplete, it's just that my understanding of marriage is different. Many people often ask me whether I've missed out on many opportunities, wondering why I didn't choose to get married. I don't see it as a missed opportunity. Yes, I might have encountered some good women, but sometimes we can't choose the other person's true values. Some women might find me suitable, but I might not feel the same way. If someone is unwilling to give in a relationship, only wanting to take advantage, then I'd rather not be in such a relationship. Some women see my success and think I can't support them, but what I value in marriage is mutual respect and support, not just economic dependency. Looking back, I have had relationships with a few women, but none of them lasted. There were many complex reasons, one of the biggest being the involvement of economic and material factors. For example, some women from outside Beijing come here hoping to solve housing and household registration issues through marriage. Some even come from large families, hoping to change their situation or even that of their family through marriage. I can't tolerate this kind of situation. They are not interested in building a life with me, they just want me to help their family out financially. These women want to drain a man dry in one go. I find such women very uninteresting. I have met many such women. Perhaps they were poor back home, but after coming to Beijing, they developed a strong elite mentality, thinking that marriage is a resource they can exploit. They believe they can obtain everything through marriage. I think this is impossible. You haven't contributed anything, so why should I support you? Although you may be pretty, men aren't fools. I've met many women who, just by having a meal with me, would ask for anything, almost like they've lost their minds. I feel like these women are completely unrealistic. They're not here for a relationship. They're here to rob me. For me, the most important aspect of marriage is not dependence, but joint effort. In Beijing, resources are abundant, and success and wealth are not easily obtained through marriage. They must be earned through one's own effort. A couple that truly wants to be together should have similar values and be able to face life's challenges together, not just look at what the other person can offer. In summary, I would rather live alone than enter an unequal and unhealthy relationship just for the sake of marriage. I'm not rejecting marriage, but I hope to find a partner who shares similar ideals and values. Only then can we truly spend our lives together, not just use each other. This is my understanding of marriage, and the reason why I haven't married.
突然想通了一个问题，为什么到现在我还没有结婚？
Today, I suddenly realized something. Why, at 55 years old, am I still not married? Honestly speaking, I think it's because I've been lucky. Looking back to when I was 16 and first moved to Hubei, my parents weren't around. Without the constraints of my parents, I was really free. Aside from sending some living expenses to them every month, I lived a pretty carefree life. I did whatever I wanted to do. Later, I settled in Hubei and got comfortable, thinking life was pretty good. But when my father turned 60, he decided to come live with me in Hubei. At first, I was happy to have him around, but I soon realized that living with my father wasn't as easy as I thought. He kept urging me to get married every other day, which put a lot of pressure on me. Honestly, I couldn't bear the constant nagging, so I finally bought him a house across the street, so that he could live in his own place and I could live in mine. At that time, life felt much lighter. But still, because of the marriage and children issue, my father started calling me repeatedly, nagging me to get married. At first, I tried to explain patiently, telling him that I was busy with work, hadn't met the right person yet, and wasn't thinking about marriage for the time being. But each time I answered his call, it would end with him scolding me like crazy. Years passed and eventually my father passed away. While I was very sad at the time, I have to admit that I suddenly felt much lighter. Without his constant nagging, and without the pressure of children, life became much more relaxed. Sometimes, people around me feel sorry for me for being single. They think it's so lonely for someone to live alone, and maybe I even feel like something is missing in life. But I want to tell you, if a person has the ability to make money, stays healthy, has pension insurance, and owns a house and a car, then whether they are a man or a woman, if their conditions are good, being single is actually quite enjoyable. You don't have to envy other people's kids being so cute, or their couples being so loving. You see the harmony of other people's families and their well-behaved children on the surface, but you have no idea what kind of conflicts and disputes they go through behind the scenes. What seems perfect may actually be full of turmoil beneath the surface. As for now, at 55 years old, looking back on the past, I suddenly realize I don't really long for marriage anymore. When I think about others waking up at 6 or 7 in the morning to get their kids dressed, wash their faces, brush their teeth, make breakfast, then rush to work, and still have to manage homework with the kids in the evening, possibly dealing with in-laws they don't get along with, and even arguing over trivial matters, I honestly think marriage can sometimes be way too complicated. On the other hand, my single status seems like a kind of blessing from heaven, allowing me to avoid the troubles and pressures that come with marriage. Some people may think that being single means I'm not capable or that no woman wants me, but I want to say that this is not the failure others might think. Sometimes, being single doesn't mean there's something wrong with you, but simply that you haven't met the right person yet, or you just don't need marriage. For those who are still single or those who are living alone after a divorce, I want to say, no matter if you're single because you haven't met the right person yet, or you've gone through the ups and downs of marriage, living alone and living freely now is something to enjoy. Marriage is not for everyone.
I'm 65 years old and have never been married. When I was young, I was very poor and couldn't afford to marry. Life was difficult. Now, my situation has improved, and I have some financial stability, with an annual income of around 1.5 million renminbi. But after having more money, I've realized that no woman is willing to marry me. I used to hear people say, raise children to ensure a peaceful old age, but now I feel that this saying is no longer relevant to me. As I get older, I gradually realize that the best person to rely on when I'm old is actually myself, not my children. My children have their own financial pressures. What kind of help can they offer? It's much more reliable to depend on myself. I live alone now. I've never been married, and I don't have a partner. I manage my daily life on my own, cooking, cleaning, and taking care of everything. Even though I'm alone, I feel quite good. To be honest, I'm already retired, but I haven't completely slowed down. Instead, I've started a renovation business, and it's going quite well. My income is higher than many others. Besides the renovation business, I also run an e-commerce business. I plan everything I do carefully, and my thinking is very flexible. Earning money isn't difficult. I can make at least 600,000 renminbi a year, and at times, I can earn up to 2 million renminbi. Many friends ask me, now that your income exceeds the majority of people in the country, why haven't you found a partner? I've thought about finding a partner. But honestly, when I was young, I was so poor that I couldn't even consider marriage. Now, even though I have money, I've realized something. At my age, many women are willing to be with me, but I know that many of them are more interested in my money than in me as a person. Especially younger women. They don't seem to care about who I am, but rather what's in my wallet. At this stage in my life, I no longer expect to find someone who truly wants to spend their life with me. What I value more is the freedom I have now. As for retirement, I'm not worried. The country has retirement homes, and I also have a certain amount of financial security. I'm not like some elderly people who can't even afford the cost of a retirement home. What I'm focused on now is living happily and freely in the second half of my life.
很多人问我为什么我不结婚。
Many people ask me why, at 61 years old, I am still not married. My answer is, in today's society, it's not just that I don't want to get married, More and more men don't want to get married either. Some might ask, what will you do when you're old and have no children? Won't you live a miserable life? But I want to ask, the people who carry bricks on construction sites or sweep the streets, how many of them are uncles and aunties in their 50s or 60s? If you visit a nursing home, you'll see that almost everyone there has been married and has children. Does getting married guarantee a good life? Remember this. For married people, as long as they are alive and can move, they have to work hard, non-stop, and keep figuring out ways to earn money. Now take a look at the bachelors in rural areas. How many of them in their 50s or 60s are still working hard? Most of them are at home, eating and sleeping, sleeping and eating. If they want to travel, they just go. When they're free, they stroll in the park or play chess, or dance at the square. Even those who are reliant on the government's minimum living allowance, the 5 guarantees policy, still get a few hundred yuan a month for living expenses. They eat well, cook for themselves, and spend just 15 yuan a day on food, which is better than some people who work full-time. They never feel hungry. So really, is having children that important? Shouldn't we be considering whether we're passing on our poverty instead? And once you're gone, who will remember who you were? Some people also say that not getting married is shameful back in the hometown. I want to ask, in today's practical society, how much is face worth? You spend hundreds of thousands to marry a wife, but the divorce rate is over 60% now. What if, in the end, you lose both your wife and your money? Let me ask you, is it more important to have the face of being a bachelor, or is it more important to spend hundreds of thousands marrying a wife, only to end up divorced, losing both your money and your spouse? For poor people, not getting married can also be an act of kindness, because not marrying means you won't burden the next generation with the suffering of poverty. Bachelors should focus on earning more money, enjoying life, having fun, eating well, and saving for retirement. These are the most practical things to do. If you spend hundreds of thousands to marry a wife, but in the end, it all falls apart, you may end up with nothing. Remember, today's society is one where those who can let go of desires live freely and happily. The more someone wants, the more likely their life will fall apart. Life doesn't have to be so complicated. Living simply and freely is what's most important.
With the changing society, why are more and more older men choosing to live alone rather than intermarriage? I have some personal views on this phenomenon, which can be analyzed in 2 parts. The first part refers to those unmarried men, especially older single men, and why they choose to live alone. The second part concerns those who have been married, particularly those who have divorced and become single again. First of all, the reasons why unmarried or older single men choose not to get married can be mainly attributed to 2 factors. The first reason is the pursuit of freedom and personal independence. They believe marriage would become a constraint, causing them to lose their freedom. Having children is also seen as a burden. Therefore, these men prefer to enjoy the freedom of single life and are reluctant to enter marriage too early. Some of them, even when they reach their 40s or 50s, still do not want to marry. What they enjoy is a life without responsibilities or constraints. This group of men values self-fulfillment and freedom. The second reason is related to their family background and emotional experiences. Many men who grew up in broken families or never felt warmth at home are resistant to marriage. Especially those who have experienced parental divorce or serious family conflicts. They develop a deep mistrust of marriage and fear repeating their parents' mistakes. Therefore, they are unwilling to enter marriage and prefer to live alone. For these unmarried men, some may lean toward pursuing freedom, while others may be afraid of the unhappiness marriage could bring, unwilling to repeat the unpleasant family environment they experienced as children. Now, for those who have been married, the reasons they choose to divorce or remain single again are somewhat different. Many men choose to divorce because they have endured long-term pain in their marriages and feel their quality of life has deteriorated. The various constraints and demands from their wives, along with the pressure from children, make them feel overwhelmed. These men are often at midlife, facing pressures from work, society, and family. Especially for those who have become disillusioned and exhausted with their marriages, they finally decide to leave the family and choose to divorce. After divorce, these men may remain single for a long time and may not want to enter marriage again because they fear facing the same difficulties. Of course, there are also some men who become single due to external reasons that they cannot avoid. For example, some men may have lost their spouses or, due to fate, must accept a single life. Even so, their responsibilities have not ended, especially for those with children, who still bear the responsibility of raising them. In order to care for their families and children, these men have no choice but to accept single life. However, they often feel that they have lost control over their own lives and are forced to maintain the state due to responsibility. Therefore, the men who truly choose to live alone can be divided into two categories. One is driven by the pursuit of freedom, while the other is due to various inevitable circumstances. No one is born without the need for emotional connection. Some people simply choose freedom, while others choose to bear responsibility. Choosing to live alone does not mean these men do not desire emotional connection, but rather that they have made a choice between emotion and freedom, or emotion and responsibility. Do you think my perspective is accurate? Feel free to leave your comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Your support means a lot to us, and we will continue to bring you better content. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.